Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome to Policy and Rights, the show about government policy and human rights. Welcome back to Depictions Media Radio. I am your host, Michael Clogs. The federal government is advancing green building strategies. Now, so far as emissions and lowering hydrocarbons being emitted into the air, the Canadian government has yet to meet a target, and what they have managed to do has really sent the economy spiraling because of increased gas prices. And of course, when you increase fuel prices, it also starts to increase prices on other goods, because to transport them becomes more and more expensive. But in North Vancouver, BC, Jonathan Wilkinson, the federal minister of natural resources, announced a public engagement process for Canada with the green building strategies. He also announced $2.2 million in funding to retrofit the city's Mickey McDougall Recreation Centre. The minister is joined by Linda Buchanan, the mayor of North Vancouver. So why don't we listen to what it is that they said and what this strategy and initiative could really take on.
Thank you, Mayor Buchanan, for having us here today in this beautiful facility to have a bit of a conversation about buildings. Linda said that I would be making an announcement. I'm actually going to be making two announcements today, one which is national and one which is local. We are here today, as I said, to talk about buildings, economic opportunity, and of course about climate change. While it is common to talk about buildings and economic opportunity at the same time, it's often less common to hear climate change included in that list. So let me start there. When it comes to climate change, I think we can all agree it's no longer a question of whether we should act, it is how we should act to address what is clearly an existential crisis for the world, and a crisis of particular importance to people of their age. The science is clear. We must act now, and we must act quickly if we are to live a livable planet for our children. In deciding how we act, we clearly must prioritize those areas which contribute most significantly to climate change. However, as we do so, we tend to find that there are also areas where climate action actually unlocks very real economic opportunity for people locally, regionally, and right across this country. Our building sector is one of those areas that, on the one hand, is a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions. About 13% of Canada's greenhouse gas emissions come from buildings, about 18% if you take into account the emissions associated with electricity that is used in buildings. And that is why addressing emissions from buildings is a key part of the federal government's 2030 emissions reduction plan. That plan proposed an investment of $150 million towards the development of what we call a green building strategy. Since that commitment, our government has committed the promised funds through Budget 2022, and today I am pleased to officially launch consultations on the creation of Canada's Green Building Strategy. In the coming months, we will be engaging with provinces and territories, with industry, with Indigenous partners, with municipalities, and with interested Canadians on this strategy, which we will be releasing early next year. Every Canadian will have the chance to have their say via a new website, which is being launched today, where they will also find a discussion paper that will guide them through the work that's been done thus far and our thinking going forward about how to drive down emissions. This strategy will outline the path to reducing emissions from Canada's existing buildings through retrofits, but also the path towards new, resilient, net zero buildings that we must begin to build across the country, residentially, industrially, and commercially. With an estimated 16 million dwellings and close to 500,000 commercial buildings already standing in Canada, 70% of them that are standing today will still be standing in 2050. This is no small task. But we have already gotten started, and we need to accelerate those efforts going forward. Beyond the launch of these consultations, including the website and the discussion paper, I am also very pleased to mark a related local announcement. I am here on behalf of the Honourable Dominic LeBlanc, the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs and Infrastructure and Communities, to say that our government will be investing over $2.2 million for inclusive and green upgrades to retrofit the historic Mickey McDougall Community Recreation Centre, the home of the Flicka Gymnastics Club. And I will say on a personal note, my eldest daughter spent a number of years at Flicka when she was actually about their age. So there is certainly a personal connection, as there often is in North Vancouver. This revitalization will modernize the centre to support gymnastics training in the community, from toddlers learning somersaults to Olympic athletes with big dreams. The improvements will increase accessibility by installing ramps and accessible washrooms and by relocating the main entrance. Just as important, the retrofits will upgrade the building's roof, electrical and mechanical systems to reduce energy consumption by an estimated 32% and greenhouse gas emissions by 33% per year. What does this mean in practical terms? It means the centre will save on heating costs, it will increase its climate resilience and lower its carbon footprint, helping to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. Building a cleaner economy is about adapting every aspect of our lives, very much including infrastructure, recreation complexes, arenas, wastewater treatment plants, which Linda knows a lot about, houses and apartment buildings. It's about making the buildings we live, work, and play more energy efficient. It's about creating good local jobs, because when you renovate, retrofit, and build buildings in your community, the best people to hire are the folks who are already there. All this helps communities and businesses transition to a clean economy in a responsible, smart way that benefits British Columbians and their families. So my congratulations to Flicka Gymnastics and the Mickey McDougall Community Recreation Centre. Thank you for your endeavours pushing forward with these ideas, these thoughts, and for the active work that you will do to implement what is being funded today. I certainly wish you every success with this project, and I look forward to hearing from all of you and from Canadians across this country on Canada's Green Building Strategy. So thank you once again for coming today, and thank you again, Mayor Buchanan, for hosting.
Well, thank you very much, Minister, for your comments. Indeed, this is a very exciting day, not only for Canada, but for our community. And as Mayor, I would like to say a few words about this incredible investment and this new strategy. I think we can all agree that the impacts of climate change are increasingly clear as we experience more extreme weather events. These challenges require all levels of government to redouble their efforts in building a low-carbon and sustainable future. Cities, regional districts, and First Nation governments are uniquely poised to advance new infrastructure projects to help us get there. Many do not know that the third largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Canada, as Minister Wilkinson stated, comes from homes and buildings. For too long, there has not been enough emphasis put on modernizing homes and buildings across the country, as they are efficient and contribute to a better future for Canadians for generations to come. At the City, we are ready to embrace a more sustainable way of living, working, and playing. However, we cannot do it on our own. Partnerships and grants from senior levels of government are critical in advancing this work at the local level. That is why today's announcement comes as very welcome news. The City is incredibly grateful to receive $2.2 million from the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Program to retrofit the Mickey McDougall Community Recreation Centre. With these funds, we will introduce energy efficiencies in the building, increasing the longevity of the structure, reduce community emissions, enhance accessibility, and create a healthier community for all. Last year, after many years of work, the City announced that the Mickey McDougall Community Recreation Centre was being repurposed to support the programming and operations of Flicka Gymnastics. This will enable the club to continue their legacy of raising and training future Olympians here on the North Shore. Gymnastics is a fundamental building block in a child's development, and Flicka Gymnastics has long been an athletic pillar in the city, particularly for girls, for young girls. And I, like Minister Wilkinson, have a personal connection. My 4 children went through the program, and I believe there's pretty much not a lot of parents in this community whose children have not gone through the program. We anticipate that Flicka will move into this facility and begin to make it their new home in 2025. We are incredibly proud to have them here in the city and appreciate their many contributions to sport and recreation for decades. The repurposing of the Mickey McDougall Community Recreation Centre for Flicka Gymnastics is the perfect opportunity to bring renewal to the structure as well. Once the upgrades are complete, children and youth, we're going to wait for that to go by. That's what happens when you're right in the center of the city. Children and youth of all abilities will be able to access recreation programs in a building that supports our national climate goals. This project reflects so many of our priorities in the city. As the Government of Canada engages with people on the new green building strategy, I hope we will see even more opportunities to revitalize and retrofit critical pieces of infrastructure, such as the Mickey McDougall Community Recreation Centre. The new Canada Green Building Strategy engagement is an opportunity for local governments, citizens, businesses, and others to come together and look towards the future so that we can create an even better future and community for generations to come. As we take action and move forward with low-carbon solutions, we are building a greener and more equitable place for all people. I hope Canadians from coast to coast to coast, including right here in the City of North Vancouver, take this opportunity to be part of the discussion. I want to thank the Government of Canada for their climate leadership and for this important investment in our community infrastructure. Again, thank you to Minister Wilkinson for being here today on behalf of Minister LeBlanc. Perhaps once one of these upgrades are complete, we can tour the facility and perhaps these young people can give us a lesson on how to do a somersault or a cartwheel. It's been a long time. I want to thank everyone for being here today. Minister Wilkinson and I will now take questions, and I would pleased to welcome our moderator, Rebecca Vaughn, from our city's communication team to the podium. Thank you so very much.
So we'll be happy to take questions from the Minister and the Mayor. If you could introduce yourself and your question. Hi, Brent.
Question for Jonathan. The green building strategy, in the most tangible way you can make it, what are some of the tools that you're looking at in this strategy that Canadians can expect to see?
Sure. So the discussion paper that's put out today actually has a range of different tools that we are proposing. But the point of a consultation, obviously, is to hear from interested stakeholders about whether those are the right tools and whether there are different ways to think about it, whether there are additional tools. But the tools will involve both incentives and regulatory mechanisms. So we've already put in place, for example, about a $2.5 billion program that is $5,000 grants for Canadians to actually do energy efficiency upgrades to their home, put in a heat pump, enhance their insulation, fix their windows. They have to go through an energy audit. There is a $40,000 zero-interest loan to do deep retrofits of people's homes. And there are similar mechanisms with respect to industrial buildings. We do intend to move forward with regulations that will eventually require net zero building codes. That obviously involves the provinces and territories who must implement a national building code. And of the $150 million that is supporting the discussion paper, a chunk of that is for a net zero building code acceleration fund to actually help with the implementation of net zero building codes. So there's a range of different tools. We're also, to be honest, if you think about the scale of the challenge, 70% of the buildings that exist today will still be standing in 2050. They're all going to need to be retrofitted and deeply retrofitted if we are to achieve our net zero goals. We are going to need to think about innovative ways to attract private capital to help us to do this. The governments will not have enough money to be able to do all of that on their own. And so there is a chunk of money that was announced in the budget, which is actually copying something they did in the Netherlands, which looks at crowding in private capital, trying to standardize retrofits and create a business case for the private sector to actually help us. So there's a range of those things. And as I say, the discussion paper is online.
Any further questions?
Well, cooperative media.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you so much.
With 2 times the Scene Plus points on your every
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.